There's a kind of closeness between two people that moves beyond what the eyes can see or the hands can feel. It happens when the physical becomes emotional, when the act becomes an expression, when the moment carries a depth that words can't fully hold. In those rare instances, lovemaking stops being just an experience. It becomes a language that speaks of affection, trust, vulnerability, and something far greater than desire. It speaks of love, real love, the kind that cannot be manufactured, mimicked, or mistaken. So many go through the motions, chasing the high, collecting the moments, mistaking chemistry for connection. Bodies may touch, but hearts stay miles apart. The rhythm might feel right, but something's missing, the substance, the sincerity, the soul. Because when love is absent, even the most intense intimacy feels hollow. It leaves an echo, not a memory, a void, not a bond. It fades the moment it's over. But when love is real, it changes everything. The atmosphere shifts, time slows down. There's no rush to conquer, no pressure to perform. Every move feels intentional, not because it's planned, but because it's felt. It's not about technique, it's about presence. When a man loves genuinely, he's not driven by lust alone. He's driven by a desire to connect, to give, to share something sacred. His energy doesn't just aim to ignite the body, but to soothe the heart. In that space, there is a kind of reverence. Not worship, not obsession, but a deep, unspoken respect for the person before him. He sees more than a body, he sees a soul. He doesn't just want to hold someone, he wants to hold who they are. And that presence, that intention, that emotional clarity, it cannot be faked. There's a softness in genuine love that doesn't make it weak. It makes it rare. Because it takes strength to be tender, especially in a world that often teaches men to disconnect from emotion, to chase validation through dominance, to hide vulnerability behind bravado. But love, true love, dissolves all that. It asks for honesty, for humility, for a kind of openness that only few are brave enough to offer. And when a man dares to love in that way, you can feel it. In the way he looks at you, not like you're a conquest, but like your home. In the way he listens, even when nothing is being said. In the way he's there, fully, completely, not distracted, not distant, not disappearing when the moment ends. His body may move, but his soul never leaves the room. He's present, not just in the act, but in the emotion behind it. Because for him, lovemaking isn't just a pleasure. It's a responsibility. It's about creating safety, not just satisfaction. It's about making someone feel valued, not just desired. And when he loves, everything he does, even in the most physical sense, becomes a reflection of that love. Gentle when needed, passionate when real, and always, always respectful. Never rushed, never empty, never indifferent. This kind of love doesn't scream or perform. It's quiet, it's deep, and it leaves a mark that lingers, not on the skin but in the soul. It's the kind of experience that stays with you long after the night ends, long after the world resumes. Because it's not about what happened between the sheets, it's about what was shared in that space between hearts, and maybe that's what makes it so rare. Because real love requires more than attraction. It requires attention, devotion, honesty. It requires a man to bring not just his body to the moment, but his heart, his depth, his truth. And when he does, the difference is undeniable. It feels like being seen. It feels like being chosen, not for a moment, but in a way that transcends time. In a world full of surface-level intimacy, this kind of connection is the exception. It's the moment where love and touch meet, where affection takes physical form, and where two souls speak a language only they understand. When it happens, you'll know, because it won't feel like anything you've ever experienced, and it won't leave you wondering. It will feel whole, it will feel honest, it will feel like love. When love is real, the moment becomes more than just movement, it becomes mindfulness. The difference between presence and performance lies in the silence between words, in the touch that doesn't rush, in the awareness that doesn't need to impress. It's subtle but unmistakable. One is done to be seen, the other is done to truly see. A man who loves deeply doesn't come into the moment trying to win. He's not keeping score. He's not trapped in his own head, wondering how he's doing, how he looks, or whether he's living up to some imagined standard. His concern isn't rooted in ego. Instead, he's grounded in emotion. His attention is not on the mirror, it's on the soul in front of him. There's a profound difference between being physically involved and emotionally invested. Performance is about action. Presence is about intention. Performance seeks validation. Presence seeks connection. And a man who genuinely loves will always choose the latter. Not because he's perfect, not because he's mastered some technique, but because he cares. And when care is real, it naturally slows things down. It centers the moment around meaning. In that kind of space, there's no checklist, no routine. Every touch becomes a question. Are you okay? Are you here with me? Do you feel safe? There's an unspoken conversation happening, through eyes, through pauses, through breath. And in that conversation, a truth emerges. He's not trying to take anything from the moment. He's trying to give. Presence always gives. You can feel when someone is present. There's weight in their stillness. Their silence doesn't feel empty, it feels full. They're not just looking at you, they're with you. Their touch is responsive, not reactive. Their pace is sensitive, not selfish. They notice the subtle shifts in your breath, in your body language, in your energy, and they adjust without being told. That kind of awareness doesn't come from experience, it comes from love. And that's what makes the difference so powerful. Love doesn't demand performance, it dismantles it. When a man is in love, he's not playing a role. He's not reenacting some version of intimacy he's seen or been taught. He's not chasing praise. He's not trying to check a box. He's showing up fully and truthfully, with flaws, with softness, with focus. There's no need to rush to the next move or worry about what comes after. He's not moving with an agenda. He's moving with attention. Because he knows the value of the moment. He treats it with care, not calculation. He's not just present physically. His energy is there. His emotions are there. His truth is there. That's what love brings into the room, a quiet but undeniable fullness. And in that fullness, everything changes. There's no shame, no hesitation, no fear of judgment. It feels safe to exhale. It feels okay to let go. Because presence is healing. It gives permission to be exactly who you are in that moment, without performing, without pretending. When a man is truly present, he invites that same honesty from you. It becomes a shared space where nothing needs to be hidden and everything is allowed to just be. And maybe that's why this kind of presence is so rare, because it requires him to leave his ego behind, to let go of the need to control the moment and instead surrender to it. It takes maturity. It takes emotional depth. It takes a kind of quiet strength that can only come from love. Because only love says, I'm not here for just something. I'm here for you. Presence doesn't shout. It doesn't show off. It doesn't dominate. It listens. It learns. It leads with tenderness. And when it's real, it brings a depth to intimacy that no amount of physical skill can replicate. It turns the act into an experience. It transforms a physical connection into an emotional anchor. It leaves both people feeling seen, not just satisfied. In the end, performance fades. It's forgettable. But presence, true presence, leaves a mark that lingers long after the moment ends. It creates a memory that lives in the skin, in the heart, in the silence that follows. Because love, when it's real, doesn't want to perform. It wants to be there, fully, freely, and without distraction. Love is genuine. Strength doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like softness. Sometimes it looks like a man allowing his armor to fall away, not out of weakness, but because he trusts the one standing before him. True intimacy doesn't just strip the body, it undresses the soul. And a man who loves with depth will reveal not just his passion but his truth. There's a quiet courage in vulnerability. It means choosing honesty over protection. It means saying, without words, this is who I am beneath the surface. Not what I've built, not what I've achieved, not what I show the world, but what I carry when no one's watching. Most men are not taught to lead with this. Many are raised to mask their emotions, to equate tenderness with weakness, to believe that opening up makes them less masculine. But love, real love, challenges all of that. Because when a man loves deeply, something shifts. The need to guard his heart lessens. The desire to perform fades. He begins to realize that connection doesn't come from being impenetrable, it comes from being known. And so, in the most intimate of moments, he opens, not just his arms, but his inner world. This kind of vulnerability doesn't always look like tears or confessions. Sometimes it's in the way he pauses to hold you just a second longer, in the way his breath changes when he's near, in the unspoken gratitude in his touch, like he's grateful not just for your body, but for your presence, for your trust, for the permission to be seen. That's what vulnerability is at its core, the willingness to be seen without defense. He may not say much, he may not have perfect words, but love speaks through what is real. And when his love is real, you'll feel him laying down pieces of himself he doesn't share with anyone else. The boyhood fears he still carries, the doubts he hides behind confidence, the hopes he rarely voices out loud, not all at once, not in some dramatic unveiling, but slowly, carefully, like giving you keys to the places he keeps locked. In that space, the dynamic changes. The act is no longer a transaction, it becomes a conversation, not just of pleasure, but of trust. He lets you into the parts of himself that are raw, tender, and unpolished, the parts that feel, the parts that ache, the parts that love deeply and unconditionally. And he doesn't do it for attention. He does it because, in his heart, he knows real love doesn't require masks. It asks for honesty. There's something powerful in watching a man love with this kind of openness, in seeing the walls he built over years slowly come down, not from force, but from choice, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Vulnerability isn't something you can take from someone, it's something they give, and when they give it freely, it's a sign of the deepest trust. And here's the truth, it's not the grand gestures that make love real, it's the gentle ones, the way he tells you things he hasn't told others, the way he shares his fears without needing to fix them, the way he lets himself feel in your presence, unfiltered, unguarded. That's what intimacy looks like when it's rooted in love, not just flesh to flesh, but soul to soul. He may tremble in moments, unsure of how to say what's in his heart. He may get quiet, trying to find the right words, but his vulnerability is not a flaw, it's a gift. It means he's not just loving you from the surface, he's loving you from his depths. And in return, he invites you to do the same. Because vulnerability is not a one-way offering. It's a mutual surrender, a dance of openness, a rhythm of shared truth. In a world that often teaches men to be stoic, silent, and unbreakable, this kind of emotional exposure is radical. It's revolutionary. And it is the clearest sign that his love is real. Because only someone who trusts, who loves, would dare to lay their heart bare in the most intimate space. So when you feel it, that gentleness, that unspoken surrender, that willingness to be emotionally naked, don't overlook it. Don't underestimate its power. Because in that quiet vulnerability lies the loudest declaration of love. You're safe with me. I trust you with all of me, not just the parts that are easy to love, but the parts that are hard to hold when. Love is genuine. The goal is never just to finish. It is to connect. In a world that often glorifies speed, conquest, and climax, it takes a different kind of man to slow down, to pay attention, and to understand that intimacy is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It is about attunement. It is about two people meeting each other in the present moment, not chasing a finish line, but discovering something deeper in each other. The man who loves with sincerity does not rush through intimacy as if it's a race. He understands that the real power of the moment lies not in its end, but in its unfolding. He is not preoccupied with outcomes. He is not caught up in performance or pressure. His mind is not consumed by questions like, did I do enough, or was it good enough? Because when love is present, enough is never measured by action, but by intention. With him, the moment stretches, it breathes. There's room for silence. There's room for laughter. There's room for stillness, for slowness, for softness. Every second isn't driven by urgency. It's held with care. It's not about how fast things escalate, but how deeply they resonate. That is what sets him apart. His willingness to linger, not to impress, but to connect. He doesn't see your pleasure as a duty. He sees it as a dialogue, one that requires listening, understanding, patience. He doesn't move ahead without feeling the moment. He's not concerned with just reaching a destination because for him the journey is the destination. That space between two people, raw, real, and unhurried, is what he values most. Love changes the motivation. In loveless moments, it's easy to treat intimacy like a transaction, something to be done, something to be consumed, something to be conquered. But when love is real, intimacy becomes communion. It becomes a shared experience of presence, energy, and emotion. It becomes a form of giving, not just taking. And that's why the man who loves doesn't need to rush. Because he's not looking to take anything away from the moment. He's there to be in it, fully. He notices the way your breath changes, the way your hands move, the way your energy shifts. He's not trying to force a reaction. He's responding, adapting, feeling, because the connection matters more to him than control. Your comfort is not a detail, it's a priority. Your trust is not a given, it's something he honors. Every moment becomes less about release and more about reception, receiving you in all your emotion, your presence, your complexity. This isn't about perfection. It's not about some fantasy of flawless intimacy. It's about sincerity. Real connection isn't always smooth. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's clumsy, sometimes it's filled with laughter or emotion or silence that says more than words ever could. And a man who truly loves doesn't fear those moments. He welcomes them. Because they are real, and real is what he's here for. He's not threatened by slow, he's not bored by tenderness. He doesn't view patience as passivity, he sees it as presence. In his world, there's no shame in taking time. No embarrassment in stopping to ask, to check in, to just hold without needing more. Because he understands something that many miss. The point isn't to prove anything. The point is to feel everything. And what he's really pursuing, in every breath, every movement, every shared gaze, is you, your comfort, your trust, your peace. He's not trying to reach a high, he's trying to create a haven, one where both of you can be who you truly are, one where there's no pressure, no pretense, and no pretending. That is what connection offers, a space where love can breathe, freely and fully. And in that space, something beautiful happens. The focus shifts from what can I get, to what can we share, from how does this end, to how deeply can we feel. It becomes less about time and more about depth, less about climax and more about closeness. And this kind of connection, rooted in love, anchored in presence, creates intimacy that lingers. Not just in the body, but in the heart. Not just for the moment, but in memory. Because in the end, genuine love doesn't aim to conquer, it aims to connect. It doesn't measure success by what was finished, but by what was felt. And when that kind of man touches you, not with urgency, but with understanding, you'll know this is not just desire, this is devotion. This is not just an act, this is love. In its purest, most patient form when love is true, physical closeness is never enough on its own. What matters more than chemistry is safety, not just of the body, but of the heart. A man who loves with sincerity understands this instinctively. He knows that intimacy without emotional safety is fragile. It may look whole from the outside, but inside it's filled with hesitation, guardedness, and fear. And he refuses to build something on that foundation. To him, your comfort matters more than completion. Your trust is more valuable than pleasure. Your emotional well-being, how you feel during the most vulnerable moments, becomes his priority. Not because he's trying to impress, not because he's trying to be a hero, but because he cares. And care, when rooted in love, always seeks to protect what's delicate. It pays attention. It listens. It makes room for sensitivity without shame. This man doesn't move through the moment, thinking only of his desires. He holds space for yours. He doesn't assume, he asks. He doesn't demand. He invites. And he watches closely, not out of control, but out of concern. He sees when something feels off, even if you don't say a word. He senses the shift in your energy, the tightening of your breath, the subtle withdrawal in your body, and he honors it. There is no ego in that kind of awareness. There is only love. He creates an environment where nothing needs to be hidden, where you don't have to fake a feeling or pretend to be ready, or perform comfort you don't actually feel. Because with him, honesty is not only accepted, it is encouraged. He would rather stop everything than risk crossing a line you're not fully okay with. He would rather slow down and listen than push forward and miss the signal. That's what emotional safety looks like. the freedom to be real without consequence. And in that freedom, healing begins. Because for many, intimacy has not always been safe. It may carry echoes of past pain, betrayal, or pressure. It may feel like a place where boundaries were once broken, where silence replaced consent, where discomfort was overlooked. But when love is genuine, it redefines the experience. It says here, you don't have to be afraid. Here, your voice matters, your body matters, your feelings matter. That message is not always spoken aloud, but it is communicated in every detail, in how he responds to your hesitations, in how he listens when you express something difficult, in how he doesn't flinch when you get emotional or overwhelmed or unsure. He doesn't view your vulnerability as an inconvenience. He treats it as a gift, a window into your truth, and he handles it with reverence, not resistance. He also lets himself be safe with you, because emotional safety isn't a one-way street. It's a shared space, built by mutual respect and trust. He shows up fully, not as someone trying to impress, but as someone willing to be known. And in that act, in his willingness to be just as honest, just as emotionally available, the space between you becomes sacred. There's no fear of judgment, no fear of failure, no fear that love is conditional on performance or perfection. Instead, there's assurance, there's acceptance, there's this quiet, unwavering sense that no matter what is said or shown, the love between you won't fracture, it will hold. And that kind of safety, especially in the most intimate of spaces, is rare. But that is what sets him apart. The man who loves genuinely doesn't rush past discomfort. He doesn't invalidate your needs. He doesn't dismiss your silence or misread your boundaries. He builds his intimacy around you, not over you. And in doing so, he becomes more than a lover. He becomes a sanctuary. When emotional safety is the priority, everything changes. The body responds differently. The heart opens more fully. The mind relaxes. Because when you feel safe, you stop protecting yourself. You stop editing your experience. You start showing up completely in your joy, your fear, your tenderness, your trust. And that's when intimacy becomes real. Not just physical, but transformational. This is the kind of love that doesn't just make you feel desired, it makes you feel respected, not just wanted, but valued. And once you've known this, once you've felt what it's like to be emotionally safe in someone's arms, you'll never settle for less again. Because this is the kind of intimacy that doesn't fade when the moment ends. It stays, it echoes, it builds something lasting, not just in the relationship, but within you in moments of genuine love. Understanding transcends conversation. The connection becomes so rooted in presence, so attuned to the subtle shifts of energy and emotion, that words are no longer required for communication. This is where love transforms into something deeper. An unspoken awareness, a silent language, a sacred listening that doesn't rely on the voice to be heard. The man who loves with depth doesn't wait for you to explain yourself. He feels you. He senses what isn't said. He watches with intention, not to judge, but to understand. He picks up on the pauses between your sentences, the shift in your breathing, the quiet tension in your hands, the soft hesitation in your eyes. These aren't overlooked. These are seen deeply, clearly, and without the need for translation. This kind of listening is rare, because most people are waiting to respond. They're waiting to speak, to act, to do. But the one who truly loves waits to receive. He doesn't rush to solve you or fix you. He doesn't interpret everything as a problem to be addressed. He simply wants to know you, to understand the texture of your emotions, the rhythm of your inner world, the truth of what's moving through you. During the most intimate moments, that sensitivity becomes even more profound. He doesn't need you to instruct him. He pays attention. Not to perform, not to impress, but because your experience matters to him. He notices the smallest reactions and reads them as clearly as any spoken sentence. A sigh, a stillness, a deepening breath, they all carry meaning. And he listens, not just with his ears, but with his heart, his body, and his awareness. There is an unshakable trust that builds when you're with someone who doesn't need you to explain everything to be understood. It brings relief. It brings peace. It allows you to stop performing and simply exist, fully, emotionally, unapologetically. You no longer have to put yourself into neat little sentences to be received. You no longer have to shrink your feelings down into digestible parts. He meets you where you are, in all your quiet complexity. And in return, you begin to listen in the same way. Because love like this teaches you to slow down, to notice, to be still enough to feel. You start to hear his silences too, not as empty space but as full expressions. You begin to see the care in his stillness, the protection in his pause, the tenderness in his quiet. It becomes a mutual language of the heart, unspoken but unmistakably real. He doesn't try to overpower the moment with noise. He doesn't crowd it with expectations. He knows that in stillness something sacred emerges, something that only appears when the mind stops racing, when the body feels safe, and when the soul is given room to breathe. In that silence he holds space, a kind of emotional stillness that says, I'm here, I'm listening, I feel you, even when you don't know how to say it. There is no pressure in this presence, no urgency to make you speak before you're ready, no assumption that love must be loud to be true. His listening is a kind of reverence, a quiet honoring of who you are beneath the surface. And it is in those moments, often without any words exchanged, that the deepest connection forms. Love, in its truest form, doesn't demand constant explanation. It creates a space where you can simply be, where the unsaid is not neglected but nurtured, where silence is not awkward but intimate. The man who listens without needing words is not waiting for you to become someone clearer or more articulate. He values the version of you that is raw, uncertain, emotionally rich, and fully human. And when you realize that you are fully heard, not because you've spoken perfectly, but because you've been felt, it does something to your soul. It softens your defenses. It builds trust that words alone could never create. It tells you that your presence is understood, not just your phrases. That your being is enough, even when your voice is quiet. This is the kind of intimacy that leaves a lasting imprint. Because it's not just rooted in action, but in awareness. It's not built on what is said, but on what is shared through energy, emotion, and presence. And once you've been heard like this, once you've been seen without speaking, you understand something profound. Love doesn't need to shout to be real. Sometimes, the loudest love is the quietest. And the deepest listening comes not from the ears, but from the heart. There is something deeply powerful about a man who chooses to slow down. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. In a world that moves fast, that rushes through emotion, that glorifies urgency and equates slowness with weakness, his choice to be still with you speaks volumes. It says, without needing to be said, you matter. This matters. I am not here to pass time. I am here to be present with you. When love is genuine, speed becomes irrelevant. The rhythm of intimacy no longer follows the pulse of ego or desire. It follows the rhythm of connection. And that rhythm, more often than not, asks for slowness. It asks for stillness. It asks for moments that are stretched, not skipped. Moments that are savored, not survived. He slows down for you because he knows there is beauty in every second of your presence. He does not rush through you as if you are a task to be completed or a sensation to be consumed. He moves with intention. Every touch, every glance, every breath is deliberate. Not because he's rehearsed, but because he's aware. Aware that love is not built in moments of haste, but in the spaces where time feels like it pauses. He isn't counting minutes, he's counting moments. Not the kind that can be measured, but the kind that can be felt. The moment your hand finds his and lingers. The moment your eyes meet, and you both understand something without speaking. The moment the silence grows so deep it feels like music. These are the moments he slows down for, because they are the ones that build trust, that build meaning, that build love. When he slows down, it is not just a change of pace, it is a shift of intention. He is saying in every unhurried movement, you are not just part of this moment. You are the reason for it. And in doing so, he invites you to slow down too, to drop the tension, the expectations, the need to prove or perform. He reminds you that love is not something that needs to be chased. It's something that is already here when you are both fully present. There's patience in his hands. There's presence in his eyes. And in his energy, there's an unspoken reassurance. We're not going anywhere. There's no rush. Let this moment be enough. He is not looking to escape to the next high, the next goal, the next peak of pleasure. He is rooted in now, in the way your skin responds to his, in the way your breath matches his rhythm, in the way your energy softens when you feel safe. This kind of slowing down isn't just about pace, it's about depth. It's about choosing quality over speed, meaning over motion, connection over conquest. It's about recognizing that true intimacy is not a race, but a reverence. And reverence takes time. It cannot be hurried, it cannot be faked. It must be felt, with patience and with presence. He's not measuring the value of this experience by how far it goes or how long it lasts. He's measuring it by how deeply it's lived. That's the difference. That's what love does. It removes the finish line. It shifts the focus from getting somewhere to being here. With you, entirely, without pressure, without performance, just presence. And when a man gives you that kind of time, unhurried, undistracted, unconditionally offered, you feel it. Not just in your body, but in your spirit. You feel safe to slow down too. You feel seen, not for what you give, but for who you are. You feel cherished in the way he listens to the pauses, the way he adapts to your energy, the way he responds not just to movement, but to stillness. You begin to understand that love is not about acceleration. It's about alignment. And alignment requires time to breathe, to sink, to feel, to open. And in his slowness, there's a tenderness that says, you are worth waiting for, you are worth learning, you are worth every unspoken moment we share. So he slows down. For you, for love, for the truth that lives between you, the truth that cannot be felt in a rush, only in presence. And in that sacred slowing down, he shows you the kind of man he is, not just someone who desires you, but someone who honors you, not just someone who touches your body, but someone who values your heart. And that is the kind of slowness that leaves a lasting impression, not on the skin, but on the soul. There is a language spoken in silence that words can never capture. It exists in the stillness between heartbeats, in the quiet before a touch, in the gaze that lingers without urgency or demand. This is the language of the eyes, and when a man loves genuinely, this is where he speaks the loudest. His eyes say what his voice doesn't need to, not because he is afraid of words, but because some truths are too sacred to be spoken. His gaze doesn't wander with distraction. It stays, it settles, it softens. It holds you like a vow, quiet, steady, and full of meaning. In that look, you find something beyond attraction. You find recognition. You find reverence. When he looks at you, it's not a glance, it's a witnessing. As if he's not just seeing the surface of you, but the soul of you. And in that sacred recognition, you feel more than beautiful. You feel known. You feel safe in your imperfection. You feel understood in your silence. You feel chosen, not for a moment, but for something deeper, something real. His eyes are present, not scanning, not rushing, not distracted by the noise of the world. They are with you, entirely. In a room full of people, they search only for you. In the quiet moments, they rest on you like the dawn rests on the horizon, without force, without effort, just naturally drawn. And in those moments, you remember, this is what it feels like to be deeply seen. There's no performance in his gaze, no agenda, no manipulation, only honesty. His eyes are not looking to possess, they are looking to connect. They don't try to pull you in, they meet you. They respond to your energy. They adjust to your emotion. They listen to what your face says when your lips say nothing. They speak gently, but they speak powerfully, reminding you again and again, I am here, I see you, all of you. And the truth is, in moments of intimacy, words can falter. They can stumble under the weight of emotion. They can feel too clumsy, too narrow, too fragile to carry what the heart is really feeling. But the eyes, they never lie. They reveal everything: the care, the passion, the vulnerability, the awe, the gratitude, the devotion. It's all there if you look closely enough. And when love is true, you never have to look too hard. His eyes might well with tears, not from pain, but from the overwhelming beauty of the moment. Not because he's weak, but because he's open. His walls are down. His heart is exposed. And instead of guarding himself, he offers himself, without defense, without pride. You see the tremble of truth in his gaze. You see the softness that only love can bring out in a man. And it's in those moments, when the room is quiet, when the breath is shared, when the world fades away, that his eyes say everything. They tell you you're safe. They tell you you're cherished. They tell you this isn't casual. This isn't temporary. This isn't about control or conquest. This is about connection. This is about honoring something rare, something raw, something worth protecting. His gaze never looks through you. It rests with you. He doesn't avoid your eyes when emotion surfaces. He doesn't flinch when things get real. He holds eye contact not as a show of strength, but as a gift of presence. It's his way of saying, I'm not going anywhere. You don't scare me. Your truth doesn't scare me. I am with you in this moment fully. And the most beautiful part, you don't have to ask for it. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to earn it. He gives it freely because his heart is aligned with his gaze. Because when love is genuine, it naturally shows itself. Not just in grand gestures or poetic words, but in the still, sacred language of the eyes. It's not just about how he looks at you, it's about what you feel when he does. That sudden stillness, that soft pull inward, that knowing that you are not alone in this world, that, in this moment, someone is not just near you, they are with you, entirely, emotionally, soulfully, and they see you not as someone to be impressed, but as someone to be loved. That's what the eyes reveal when love is real. And once you've been seen like that, truly seen, you never forget it. Because it speaks to the deepest part of you, the part that longs not just to be touched, but to be understood, the part that craves not just romance, but recognition. And when his eyes speak, you hear it. Loud and clear. There is a difference between holding someone and holding someone. One is physical, a simple act of contact. The other is profound, a sacred exchange where touch becomes a language of reverence, where presence becomes an embrace of meaning itself. When a man loves truly, the way he holds you reveals everything about what you mean to him. He doesn't just wrap his arms around you to satisfy a momentary need or to claim possession. His hold is an offering, a promise, a silent vow whispered through his fingertips. It says, you are important, you are precious, you are not fleeting. When he holds you, it's like holding a fragile truth, delicate and deep, that he will protect even when the world feels uncertain. His hands don't rush. They don't grip or clutch in desperation. They cradle, they support, they comfort. Each movement is intentional, a wordless expression of safety, of warmth, of belonging. It's as if in that embrace, he's telling you, here, with me, you can be yourself. You can drop the armor, you can rest, and you feel it deep in your bones. This is more than touch. This is sanctuary. The weight of his hold carries the weight of his heart. It's steady and grounding, anchoring you in the moment and in the truth of your connection. You feel the sincerity in the way his arms surround you, neither too tight to suffocate nor too loose to let go. It's a perfect balance, held in patience and care. He's holding you, not just your body, but your presence, your vulnerability, your essence. In his embrace, time slows. The outside world fades. Noise becomes silence. And everything that once felt rushed or chaotic finds peace. Because to be held like this is to be seen as whole. To be valued not for what you give, but for who you are. It's a love that doesn't ask for perfection or pretense. It only asks to be received. Fully, honestly, deeply. He understands that a hold is not just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and sometimes even sacred. It's the language of his soul reaching out, telling you without words that he's here, that he's present, that he's not going anywhere. And that kind of hold becomes a refuge, a place where fears are calmed, doubts are quieted, and trust is born. This is why his touch lingers, not because he's afraid to let go, but because he's unwilling to let what you share slip through his fingers. His hold becomes a metaphor for how he loves, with intention, with respect, with a devotion that doesn't waver. When he holds you, you feel the weight of that devotion, and it wraps around you like a shield against the uncertainties of life. And it's in those moments that you realize love is not just about passion or excitement. It's about presence. It's about showing up over and over in the small but significant ways. It's about holding on, not out of need or fear, but out of choice and grace. To hold you like he's holding meaning is to say, you are not just a moment. You are a part of my story. He's not distracted by the next thing. He's not rushing toward an end. He is fully here, fully engaged, fully committed to the now between you, and that makes all the difference. When a man holds you like this, it changes everything. You feel safe enough to let go. You feel loved enough to be vulnerable. You feel seen enough to be free. Because in his arms, you discover the power of being truly held, not just by hands, but by a heart that values you more than words can express. This is the essence of genuine love. It is found in the quiet strength of his embrace. It is felt in the steadiness of his presence. And it is remembered long after the moment has passed. Love is not a fleeting feeling or a momentary spark. It is a commitment to presence, to truth, and to deep connection. It is a force that asks for courage, vulnerability, and authenticity. When love is genuine, it shows up in actions that go beyond words and moments that transcend the ordinary. It moves through us as a quiet revolution, changing how we see ourselves and how we choose to be with another. Now is the time to recognize the difference between surface attraction and true love, between passing desire and lasting devotion. It's time to honor those moments, those men, and those connections that embody love's highest form. To recognize when love isn't just spoken but lived, when it is not just felt but actively shown in the way someone listens, holds, sees, and cherishes. You deserve a love that listens without needing words, a love that slows down just for you, a love whose eyes speak volumes without a single syllable, a love that holds you like you are the most precious thing in the world. This kind of love is not an accident. It is not luck. It is a choice made by the heart that is willing to be present, patient, and profoundly real. So ask yourself, are you ready to receive this love? Are you ready to give this love? Are you willing to look beyond surface-level connection and demand the authenticity your heart craves? The kind of love that is gentle but strong, quiet but powerful, simple but profound? It begins with awareness. Begin by recognizing the signs, the ways love reveals itself not in grand gestures, but in the small sacred details, the way a gaze lingers, the way hands hold gently but firmly, the way moments stretch without rush. These are the truths that speak louder than any promise. Then, honor yourself enough to wait for this love. Do not settle for less than what your soul deserves. The world may pressure you to rush, to chase, to compromise, but true love is patient. It waits, it grows, it deepens, and it will find you when you are ready to truly receive it. And if you are already in love, let these truths be your guide. Let them remind you to be fully present with your partner, to listen beyond words, to slow down when the world speeds up, to look deeply and see beyond the surface, to hold not just a body but a heart, with reverence and care. Let love be your practice, your daily commitment, your sacred space. Choose to show up with authenticity. Choose to be vulnerable. Choose to create connection that lasts. Because love is not just a feeling, it's a continuous unfolding journey. This journey asks for your courage. It asks for your presence. It asks for your willingness to be seen and to see in return. To love not just with passion, but with patience. Not just with words, but with actions that speak to the deepest parts of the soul. So take this moment. Breathe it in. Let it settle in your heart. Let it awaken in you the desire for something more, something real, something lasting, something genuine. Love deserves this. You deserve this. Now go forward with intention. Let the love you give and receive be marked by these truths. Let it be a love that listens, slows, sees, and holds. Let it be a love that transforms you, a love that honors your worth and the worth of the one you cherish.